What's up, everybody? Sunday Sessions, episode 44, here to deliver a ton of information to help you scale your Amazon business. For anybody who's this your first time joining, my name is Eric Castellano. I'm the owner of Amazon Lit, which is a consulting company that helps sellers at all levels build their Amazon businesses. Super excited to be here. The purpose of this call is basically a live Q&A. Any questions you have about your Amazon company, you post them in the chat, and I'll answer them. I hope everybody's having a beautiful Sunday. Anything exciting going on right now? What y'all got going on right now? Let's talk about that for a second. I've been working for the past couple hours. Did a little gardening. Got to go slide over to Costco, get some groceries, and gonna hit up Home Depot and just chill out. Probably hit the gym a little later. You know, how to become a verified supplier for invoices. Or man, when you joining the program, bro. You know? Yeah, bro, sitting in bed buying shit and watching you. Amazing. Amazing. Yes, I'll be at the AMZ United conference, correct. Amazon is offering us a $153,000 loan at 9 months at 12.99% APR. What are your thoughts? What's your thought process before taking it? Honestly, the APR is a little high. I would probably deny it. They'll probably come back with a lower APR. But it depends also what type of products you're selling and the margins you're operating at, and if you have the inventory to spend the cash on, right? Because you don't want to take a loan and then it just sits in the bank account. So unless you have the physical inventory to purchase where you know you can leverage that loan to build your business, I wouldn't consider taking that. Now, if you do have the access to the inventory and your margins support a 12.99% APR, then it's something to consider. But nearly 13% is high, and Amazon does definitely go lower than that. I was just talking to some sellers yesterday; they're locked in at 7.99. So Amazon definitely will go lower than 12.99. How do you feel about selling products that Amazon sells and rarely shares the buy box? If they're rarely sharing the buy box, doesn't matter if it's Amazon or another seller, I typically stay away from the listing. Or you answered your own question. They're rarely sharing the buy box. So chances of getting a buy box, if they're rarely sharing it, slim to none. But it also depends on the volume of the listing. So, for example, if Amazon's dominating 80% of the buy box on a listing that's only selling 100 units a month, there's really only 20 extra units in there that you can eat off of, right? But now, if Amazon's dominating 80% of the buy box on a listing that's selling 10,000 units a month, now you got 2,000 units you could get at a piece of the action. So it really depends on the BSR, how much volume's moving, and then the percentage. Typically, we don't like to jump on listings where any seller or Amazon is over 80% buy box. Typically, that's the name of the game. Let's see what we got here. Yeah, hella people. That's good. That's what I like to see. At what point do you recommend living off your Amazon business? Just crossed 1 million and pay myself 4K per month. Um, it really depends on how much money you need to live, right? If you can survive off of $48,000 a year, um, then you're doing it correctly, right? I would hope you took your numbers, you analyzed them, and you said, "Hey, I can comfortably pay myself $4,000 a month." Right now, obviously, that's not the long-term vision. You don't want to be making 4K a month forever. Like the goal would be to scale that out immediately. When I talk to sellers exclusively on one-on-one calls, I always hammer across the component of paying yourself, right? Because it's like we don't work for nothing. And Amazon, as we all know, is not an easy business model. It's not passive income, regardless of what any TikTok video or YouTube advertisement tells you. Amazon is not passive, right? There's ways to make it less active, but 100% passive, Amazon doesn't really exist. Um, so yeah, it's really what you're comfortable paying. If you're comfortable living off that 4K a month right now and you're not tight, then keep doing that and reinvesting into the business because you're thinking long term, right? But you should be paying yourself substantially. I know Sebastian and me, we didn't take a paycheck for probably the first 18 to 24 months. And that was mainly because we were reinvesting all the money back into the company. Now, obviously, still need to put gas in the car and food on the table. So, yeah, we took some money out for that, but there was no extra coming into our bank accounts at that time. It was grind time. How and when did you hire your first employee for prep work in the warehouse? So our first employee for prep, I was actually probably one of the first employees for prep in the warehouse when Sebastian brought me on. So essentially, friends are a great opportunity. Family members, if you got little cousins, little brother or sister, right? These are people you can leverage immediately. Now, if you need someone who's more full time, then I would suggest advertising local newspapers, Craigslist, Indeed, Monster. We don't really use for warehouse positions. We prefer to advertise in the local paper, as well as Craigslist, and also referrals. But because you don't have any current employees, getting referrals is going to be a little complicated. Um, and yeah, essentially you bring on, and the first employee you definitely want to bring on is a prep employee, because your time is much more valuable than the 15 to 18 to even $20 an hour that you're paying a prep employee, right? I know my time is much more valuable than 15 to $20 an hour. So if I can pay, or you can pay someone to do that physical aspect of the labor, and you can focus on scaling out the business instead of working in the business, then that is the game plan. That is the move for you, right? Why is my account health rating keep going down? Have no flags at all. It started around 700, now down to 550 or so. It keeps dropping by 5 points or so every few days. How can I increase that? First of all, even if you're at 550, that's still a very good account health rating. And unless I actually looked at your account, I wouldn't be able to pinpoint any reason why it's dropping 5% or 5 points every day. But 550 is nothing even to be concerned about. Typically, we don't buy products unless it's selling. Early on, we did 12 units at minimum. At least we can get 12 sales a month. Now we're a little higher just to save on production costs. But you really shouldn't be picking up, 2 or 3 units. Let's say a product selling 24 units a month, the ASIN, and there's 7 competitive sellers, and you'll maybe get 2 or 3 of the sales. Like that's not worth it, right? Because the process in which to add it to an order, submit it to the vendor, receive it at your house or your warehouse, prep the inventory. It's like by the time you do all that, the couple units you're buying just don't make logistical sense to profit off of them anymore because you've too many hands have touched them for 2 or 3 units. So we prefer to buy greater than 12. A good number also, if you're a little bigger, could be 18 or 24. Eli, appreciate you, brother. We used to dabble on Walmart, but the user interface, as a lot of um, the user interface for Walmart is trash. So we personally stepped away from Walmart only because a lot of the products we were listing on there were multi-packs and bundle packs. And just managing it was like there were so many listing errors, and we didn't focus any time of it. We did for like maybe I think 2 years we sold on Walmart. We're doing maybe $15,000 to $20,000 a month. Yeah, this is a common question. It's actually in both right now. It's on YouTube and Instagram. It actually might be the same person. And the question is about distributors or manufacturers rather. So Unilever, Procter and Gamble, Johnson and Johnson, Reckitt and Benckiser, right? Are they the source for products? And I'll tell you here, no, they're not. Not for Amazon sellers. They're not the source for inventory going direct to manufacturer, right? Because the way manufacturers work is there's a supply chain, right? And distributors are at the top of that supply chain. So here as an Amazon seller, you go reach out to, let's say, who was an example you gave? It was right here. Let's say you reach out to P&G, right? And you want 10 pallets of, well, I don't know what a P&G product is, Tide, let's just say. It might be P&G. You want 10 pallets of Tide, right? First of all, you're going to be in tier 3 pricing. You're not even going to be able to buy 10 pallets of Tide. You're going to have to get at least a full truckload, usually 10,000 pounds, depending on the category that the product's in. And here's the other thing, right? Distributors, they're not looking for a truckload. A distributor's not buying a truckload of inventory. A distributor's buying 30 truckloads, 40 truckloads of inventory. So they're in tier 1. The distributors, right? They're tier 1 pricing. So they're already multiple percentage points below you. So you're never going to be able to get competitive pricing from manufacturers, big manufacturers. So we don't open any accounts with manufacturer direct. And I advise all of you don't, because you'll just be spinning your wheels unless you're a distributor yourself. And then you can get access to those types of products. I love it. One of the things I love the most is when someone I've been talking to for like literally years on Instagram, and and I've been like, hey, like you should really join the team. Like we'd love to have you. And like they never really commit. They never join any EsellersRI, Inner Circle, anything, right? But they continue to ask questions all the time, like they're part of it. It's like no fucking barrier there. It's like, bro, like there's a service that's provided here, and in order to get that access, like there's a price tag to it. But yet they keep popping into all these calls and asking questions and asking questions and asking questions and asking questions. And I get it, but sometimes it feels I guess like leechy. That makes sense, right? It's like, bro, like, why should I invest in this relationship? You've made absolutely no investment in the relationship on your side. It's a one-way street right now. It's a one-way street. You're just ask, 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 ask. There's no two-way street here. It's not take, give, and then gain. Not one hand wash the other and both wash the face. Like you're just taking. Always asking questions, sending DMs. Like, and that's why I stopped diving into my DMs a lot, because it gets out of control. It's like people just want to suck energy. And I get it, but there's a place to do it. How do you get over self-doubt when starting out? So starting, right? Everybody's got self-doubt. I think being afraid and being fearful is a common trait in humans universally, right? And the only way to get through that fear is through action. So I take continued action day in and day out. And just recognizing something you could do is, through that self-doubt and that fear of getting started, is just ask yourself, what's the worst that can happen? I dedicate my time to this for the next 6 months. What's the worst that can happen? You fail, and then you're back in the same position that you're in right now, working whatever job you're working. Like, so whenever you analyze the worst possible scenario, it's usually not that bad. It's usually not terrible. So that's how I get through self-doubt and fear. Fear of starting, fear of failing, fear of success is big as well. My vendors keep telling me to open up and do local wholesale supply for C stores. Your thoughts? Yeah, it's an option. it's definitely an option. You're gonna have to create a whole new different side of your business though, Eli, because you're gonna have to build relationships with those convenience stores. And then B, get a feel for what type of inventory they're looking for, and C, be more competitive than their current relationship. So absolutely, I'm a firm believer in diversifying your income streams, right? And if you think there's an opportunity there, exploring it can't hurt. Same thing that goes with self-doubt, right? Like this gentleman was just talking about getting scared to start on Amazon because there's fear of unknown. Same thing with you, Eli. There's an unknown here. You don't know if it's going to work. You don't know. If you're going to be able to make the money you think you should make, but maybe possibly you could get bigger discounts for your own Amazon inventory by leveraging larger purchase orders to sell to other customers. So there's definitely some opportunity there. Are grocery items better for wholesale? I mean, they're not better. They're just that they are. They're not better or worse. I just love that you can't return them. Um, If so, how do you deal with mixed expiration dates for same products? Does Amazon sell the products which expire first, or they just sell whichever? Yeah, so Amazon unfortunately has no FIFO, which is first in, first out. They do not operate scanning expiration dates, and they will not send your sooner expiring products to the customer. So it's all about inventory management. So for some of our really fast selling SKUs, what we typically will do is actually, depending on the expiration date of the inventory that's in stock, typically we'll try to have a 2 to 3 day window of out of stock to replenish that inventory. And now, over the course of a year, you figure, let's say you get a 30-day turn on those products. So 12 times you got to replenish that inventory. It's going out of stock for 2 to 3 days. 12 times 2 times 12 times 2 is 24 days. 12 times 3 is 36 days. So you're losing almost an entire month of inventory by managing your expirations. But after numerous calls with Amazon, our account reps, people in the grocery category, executives for Amazon, there's just no way for Amazon to do that right now. So unfortunately, you got to take that hit and either go out of stock or have a good management of your expirations. So something we do and something you could do is literally every time you send a shipment to Amazon, you pull the merchant SKU, the shipment it was sent on, as well as the expiration date into an Excel file, and you sort it by soonest expiring. Right. And then you can kind of start tracking the sales. So let's say you got a product that's expiring 180 days and you sent 30 units and you pop in and there's only a couple units left. Right. And then you got another inbound inventory that's replenishing at a new expiration. You kind of got to drop the price on those couple units and get rid of them before, because Amazon will just add your new inventory with your old inventory. And then all it takes is one of those old SKUs to sit behind and they ship it to a customer, or they'll mark all your units unfulfillable because of expired inventory. So yeah, expirations can sometimes definitely be a nightmare on Amazon. Yeah, I think 5K is a reasonable amount to start with. We started with about 4K, and I know dozens of people who started with around the same. I think it's a reasonable amount to start. Alan, send me a message on Instagram. I'll send you a link for an application to an inner circle. There's just 2 requirements to be an inner circle. First is you have to be a member of EsellersRI already. Second is you have to be a 7-figure Amazon business owner, right? This allows us to keep the conversations that happen in the inner circle top tier, right? I don't want any intermediate beginner questions in inner circle. That is not what inner circle is about. Inner circle is taking low 7-figure and high 7-figure businesses and even 8-figure businesses and expediting their growth, right? Providing them more profit, more sales, streamline efficiencies in their processes. But yeah, there's a wait list right now. So just send me a message on Instagram and you can fill out the application. Can you talk about types of shipping to Amazon, which allows you guys to get stuff in and available quicker than the default shipping option? So we don't use any partner carriers for any of our freight. The reason why we prefer no partner carriers is because we realize that there's not many live unloads with partner carriers, right? They're not live unloading your inventory. Sometimes it could sit in the parking lot for 2, 3, 5 days at a time. So while your inventory is supposed to be selling, it's sitting and it's not even being received yet. So one of the ways we expedite that is by using non-partnered carriers. Now, in order to use a non-partnered carrier, you'll have to have a relationship with a carrier. Now, I suggest opening accounts like Unishippers, CH Robinson, Priority One. These are brokers. These brokers will provide you negotiated, discounted rates, and you'll be able to select the one that meets your time frame and your expectations of cost. And the reason why I say time frame and expectations of cost is because the cost of the shipment does not always indicate, if it's lower, that it's the selection you should choose. Because if one shipment is $200, but it's going to be a 7-day delivery time, and the other shipment is $500 and it's going to be a 2-day delivery time, I would much rather spend the additional $300 to have my inventory received 5 days faster, right? Because the turn you can get on your products in those 5 days is going to allow you to scale your business. And when you think of 5 days that you're missing on sales multiplied by, let's just say you send 20 shipments a year, which is on the low side, you're essentially missing out on 100 days of sales in that year, right? Which kind of is tough to wrap your head around. But every shipment you're sending, you're missing out on 5 days because you wanted to save a couple $100. And then we also suggest using 2D labels. It will make things much smoother in your warehouse as well. I've never heard of that company. Yeah, I got some great books. Let's do this. Let me see some bangers here. Expert Secrets, that's a banger. Forgettable Gentleman. We'll just rock with these two. This is banger right here. 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. Some nuggets. It's another banger. Power One More. Ed Milet. Dude's an OG. I don't know if you've ever seen Ed Milet live, but if you have an opportunity to see Ed Milet on stage, please go. Shit is next level with this guy. Literally. We saw him over at where was he? I think it was maybe Russell Brunson, Funnel Hacking Live. Dude had me laughing, crying. Um, it was definitely intense. The guy's intense, right? Um, so yeah, those are some book recommendations. I enjoy selling in all the niches. Never heard of them. How often do you guys ship to Amazon? So we send 6 full truckloads a week. So Monday through Saturday, we are sending full truckloads of inventory. Average truckload has about 11,000 items on it. So about 66,000 items a week we're sending to Amazon. And let me go back to that, right? Because that was just insight about my business. There was no really value there. But something you need to consider is right now you're sending 3 shipments a week, right? I mean, a month. Something to consider. Oh, they're FTL, full truckloads. So you're probably missing out on inventory being received quicker. So something you could do is maybe take that to 4 or 5 shipments a month, and instead of being full 24 pallet or 28 pallet truckloads, it's maybe 18 to 22 pallets. Right. This way you'll get inventory received at Amazon quicker because you're sending shipments out more frequently, right? Which in turn will allow your inventory turn to increase greatly. And the more inventory turns you have in your company, the quicker you're getting cash back. So right now, Isacom, with 3 full truckloads a month, I would be cutting that, by 5 and probably doing 5 truckloads a month. 4 or 5 at the best. It just makes absolute sense to me because you'll get the inventory in quicker. Right now, you're waiting to produce that truckload every 10 days. But if you can shave 2 or 3 days off of that, you're getting your inventory into Amazon quicker. And then here it goes back to the cost of sending the truckloads. You're going to be like, Eric, but that's going to be more expensive. And it's like, yeah, but when you weigh it over the course of a year, the slight increase in shipping expense never outweighs the value of having your inventory available for sale much sooner, because then you get a quicker return on your cash flow. Yeah, Monday through Friday, Nick, sometimes Saturdays. No, I don't want to start my own marketplace. Sounds like a nightmare. And I don't want to compete with Amazon either. They're fucking behemoth. What else we got here? I know a few logistic brokers. What are the steps to send LTLs to Amazon using them? So you would select non-partner carrier instead of partner carrier when selecting who's shipping your inventory, right? And then you communicate with that non-partner carrier. In this case, you said you just said a few logistics brokers. So you communicate with those logistic brokers, get quotes based on the final destination of that shipment, and then you'd select the quote that you want to choose, and then you'd provide the FBA number and the information for that shipment to the carrier. Now, if you are using a logistic broker for non-partnered carrier shipments, it's important to make sure that the broker knows these shipments are going to Amazon, because they'll be able to edit your account and remove any companies that do not take Amazon deliveries, because not every carrier takes deliveries to Amazon, because Amazon has a strict process for getting into their warehouse. And it's a few things. You're required an appointment, and you're required an ISA number, right? So without those, these companies, these truckers can't get into Amazon. So it's important to communicate that information. Also, something I suggest doing is communicating with the broker you're using and having them remove all deferred shipments. So a deferred shipment versus a standard shipment. Deferred means what they're going to do, and deferred is typically for LTL, not FTL. FTL will never be deferred. It will be standard direct shipment. But with the deferred shipment, what happens with your carrier is that they pick it up and then they take it to like a central location, and they're waiting for other pallets to get a full truckload to then send to your final destination. So that deferred shipment, you might not even see it get to Amazon for sometimes 7, 10, 12 days, because they're waiting for a full truckload, right? So I always prefer to ask my logistic brokers to remove deferred shipments if it's an option. What is the best way? What is the best way to tell if an ASIN will price tank? So typically a good indication is what I call a V split, right? And I was just doing a screen share before on some ASINs in a previous live, but my computer was tapping out on me, but I'll make sure I jump in. on one of these next Sunday sessions and do some screen shares. But essentially what you're looking for is what I call it a V split, right? And I'll draw it here real quick. So what you're going to see normally will the offer count, all right? So it'll look like this typically. And I don't know, is that backwards for you? No. So the offer count will typically go up, right? And the price, because the offer count's going up, the price will go down because now all these sellers are competing for the buy box, right? So let's say there's 20 sellers here, and this is offer count, and this is price, right? So you got offer count, price. Whenever the offer count skyrockets, the price is guaranteed to drop 100%. It's basic economics, supply and demand. So that's usually a good indication. Also, a good indication of a price tanking is if you see a lot of units in the marketplace. So for example, my buyer yesterday came into my office and she said, Eric, I have a deal. Can you please review it? Which I love. And I encourage my buyers and my team to do all of the time. And I encourage them to communicate with each other too. Listen, if you got a question and you're confused about a product and you need a second opinion, send it to me. Send it to Sebastian. Send it to your buyer. Don't go buying a product that you're second guessing just because you think it's going to hit. Get a second opinion. So she sends me the ASIN. She said, Eric, they're selling it for $1.50, but they said if I buy 1,000 units or more, I can get it for $1, right? So they're giving what is that, a 33% discount right off the rip from $1.50 to $1, right? So she sends me over the 3 ASINs that we wanted to purchase it under. They're all enrolled in small and light. They were all beauty products selling for $10 or less. And when you looked at the profits with the small and light calculation, the profits for each was right around $1.75, which I'm comfortable taking. Small and light's easy to process. It's typically one label. So we're comfortable taking $1.75 on a small and light listing, right? But I pop open the listings and I see exactly what I just talked about here, right? Offer counts going up, prices going down. So the next question I asked her, I says, hey, how many units does this supplier have? And she says, Eric, they have a lot. And I say, well, what's a lot? And she said, they have over 11,000 units. And so I said, we'll call her Stacy. So I said, Stacy, let's talk about this for a second. We're going to buy 1,000 units. So now there's still 10,000 units left in the market. And now other Amazon sellers are going to purchase 1,000 units. Another guy's going to get 1,000 units. Another guy's going to get 1,000 units. And now 3 weeks later, you're not even breaking even. You're losing the dollar that you invested in inventory. So now you're at 100% ROI loss, right? All because you don't understand basic economics and how to read and keep a chart. And that's why I love being in the trenches every day. And that's why I have a firm belief that Amazon is the go-to resource for all of your wholesale information, because nobody else in the game is A, operating at the level we're operating at, and B, willing to share a lot of this information with y'all. Ain't nobody doing this shit. I promise you that. And the people who aren't doing it, they're just not at this level. Is there a tool we can use to replenish FBA inventory to make sure you're not running out? Yeah, there's Seller Board, Seller Legend, Sebastian's developing Source Correct. So there are essentially stock management tools where you connect them to your Amazon account and they track sales, they track profit, how much inventory you have. And then you can begin setting up based on lead times. You can even begin setting up notifications. Right? So let's say your supplier has a 2-week lead time. You can set up a notification for, hey, when I'm, 18 days left of inventory in stock, I need a notification so I know, to at least research this product again. And this brings me to my second point, which I don't talk about a lot, but I want to bring up here, is just blind reorders, blind replens. a gentleman joined EsellersRI about a week ago, and one of his issues on the onboarding call was that his buyers were just seeing sales data and profits on products that they were about to replenish, and they weren't popping up the ASIN to relook at the landscape of the listing. They weren't analyzing the competition. They weren't analyzing the keeper chart. So they were placing these reorders. And lo and behold, by the time they got to Amazon, because they didn't look at the changes in the keeper chart, the prices have exponentially dropped and they were actually selling them at a loss. Right? So it's just something you got to be mindful of. There's so many little subtle nuances. And this is the importance of having a community and someone you can have access to explain these things, because there's so many subtle nuances that over the course of the year, they add up. And as you grow, they can lose your business tens, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars over the course of a year. Like at our level, little mistakes over the course of the year can literally cost us $500,000 in profits at the end of the year. Right? So it's super important to stay on top of these little things, because if you don't even know they exist, you're losing money. You're losing money, and I don't want you to lose money. I want you to pack your pockets with money so you can have family freedom and time freedom and financial freedom, because that's the name of the game. How do I feel about importing HBA, health and beauty products from overseas? You think it's a good idea? And how can we tell if they're legitimate? Will Amazon accept an invoice for them? So the only time I recommend importing any HBA product from overseas is if you have access to all the documentation proving that it's eligible and approved by the FDA, right? Because usually health and beauty products need an FDA certification. Especially if it's a makeup, a face cream, anything that goes on your body. So if you don't have that documentation, I would not be importing anything. And also be mindful that when you find a wholesale deal and it's like a brand name product, but it's coming from China or India, that is not a deal. That is a hustle. Do not fall for that shit. You should be sourcing these products, the brand name products, in the country that you live in. There's no reason to go overseas for that inventory, right? There's plenty of it right here in the United States, or if you're in Canada, there's plenty of it right there, right? If you're in UK, there's plenty of it right there. You do not need to source brand name products from other countries. Shamari asked, for new sellers, what's a good number of companies to research before and hit up at sweets and snacks, trying to avoid spinning wheels or getting analysis paralysis overload? Yeah, so realistically, Shamari, I would pinpoint it to like your top 5, right? So you should have 10 or 15 that you definitely want to talk to, but like you should have your top 5 where it's like, listen, if I'm not able to get to those other 10 or 15, because a lot of times these booths are very busy. You walk by one time, there's 12 people there, they're talking. You wait 10 minutes, you're like, I don't want to wait anymore. You leave, you come back, there's still a bunch of people there. So sometimes you're not even going to get a chance to connect with some of these companies. But I think if you have a list of like 10 or 15 that you definitely want to talk to, and then the top 5 where it's like, listen, regardless of what happens at this event, I'm going to go talk to these top 5 companies, because after exploring their listings, their images could use some better updates. They could use some infographics, some lifestyle shots. They could use some SEO optimization, as well as some keyword research can be added in there. Maybe their bullet points are trashed, their title is trashed, like all of that information you can put together. And Shamar, you're right. It's very easy to get overwhelmed, right? That's why I suggest 5. And you might not think 5's enough, because it's like 5. What if they all say no? And that's what the backup 10 or 15 are for. But you don't got to overwhelm yourself. You don't got to go there and be like, I need to talk to 30 companies. That's just too much. It's too much. It's an unrealistic expectation of yourself. I sell in all, typically under 200,000, right? Yeah, the Plum card greatly helped us in the beginning. So for anybody who doesn't know what the Plum card is, American Express Plum card, it's got a 60-day grace period for payments. So That's huge because essentially you could buy the inventory, sell it, and pay back the credit with the money you made from selling the inventory. It's massive. We use the plump card very frequently growing. Yeah, it definitely helps having a truck. Yeah, but if you're not, I forgot what the term is, ICCOM or LSECOM, ISECOM. What is it? It's not your SCAC code. I can't think of it, but it's like, so if you lease a Ryder or Penske truck, right, you're not allowed to take that shipment to Amazon because you don't have an actual trucking company. And if someone can remind me, I forgot what it is. It's not a SCAC code. I can't think of it right now, but like you actually have to have a legitimate trucking company to be able to get into Amazon's warehouse. Just not anybody can go drop off a shipment, right? We tried that many years ago when we first started. We tried taking a Humble Ted's minivan to an Amazon warehouse, and you ain't getting in there. Okay, so you have one. Vegas Killers. Check out shit. What is it? Ashlyn Hayden. Ashlyn Hayden. I think that's what it is. Let me. Yeah. That's for insurance, general liability insurance. Ashlyn Hayden Insurance. Check it out. Amazing. Amazing. So, what else we got here? Hey Eric, I made a sale on all my aging inventory over 180 days, but it seems to be selling below the price I set it for. Should I reach out to Amazon and see if there is a problem? Well, first I dive a little deeper. Well, first, I check manage inventory and make sure that your listed price is actually the price that's listed on Amazon, and make sure that if you're using a pricer, you've double checked that. And then if you've checked all those bases and for some odd reason, if your price is listed below your listed price, which it absolutely should not be, then you create a case with Amazon. And the only reason I say first dive a little deeper is because it's very, very rare that something like that would happen. It's usually a user issue, a user error. What else is going on? All right, what else we got here? I'm based in the UK. I haven't started selling, still learning. Well, welcome. You've come to the great place. Answered that. Yeah, it's got to be your pricer, Eric. It's got to be. Yeah, so this is a great question. Is it cheaper to dispose or liquidate stale inventory? So liquidation, they're going to give you for like a $20 product, you're lucky if you get, 80 cents to a buck back on a product that sells for $20. But it may be the move. You figure in a product that sells for $20 at a 40% cost of goods, you're looking at about $8 in inventory costs. So you'll essentially be losing about $7 on that item. Now, if you were to dispose of it, you would be losing the whole $8 on that cost of goods plus the disposal fee, which Amazon doubled in, I want to say February or March. So, for example, let's do disposal fee, and they're really high right now, like really high. So, for a product that weighs more than 2 pounds, it's $2.83 for the first 2 pounds and $1.06 for each pound after that. So that's crazy. Let's bust out. Let's just say the product weighs, we'll say 8 pounds, right? So in order to calculate the disposal fee for an 8 pound product, this is going to blow your mind, right? We're assuming the cost of goods is $8. So it's $8 cost of goods, 8 pound product. Let's calculate the disposal fee. So 106 for each pound over 2 pounds. 8 pound product. So 6 or 8 minus 2 is 6 pounds. So 6 times 106 is 636 for the additional 6 pounds. Now we have to add the 283 for the first 2 pounds. Plus 106 times 6 plus 283. So the cost to dispose of an 8 pound product is $9.19. So not only is Amazon charging you $9.18 to dispose of the product, but then you're losing all of your cost of goods, right? So plus 8, a $17.19 lost. Disposing of inventory usually is never the option, right? Unless it's expired already. And in that case, there's nothing you can really do with it because you can't donate it or anything. So to answer your question, is it cheaper to dispose or liquidate? You got to run the numbers, but typically we prefer not to liquidate or dispose of anything. Usually we're pulling it back to our warehouse and donating it because then we can deduct that income against our taxable income at the end of the year. Units, yeah, we keep a consistent production cost per ASIN, right? Because the way we look at our business is an ecosystem. And in order to keep the entire ecosystem operating, it's oversized, it's hazmat, it's small and light, it's standard size, it's private label, it's wholesale, it's retail arbitrage, right? It's all of these things collective in a conglomerate in one ecosystem. Right. So when you look at the ecosystem as a whole, it makes sense to calculate your production cost per ASIN based on the entirety of the inventory that you shipped out of your warehouse or home or fulfillment center in that allotted time period that you're analyzing. Super important to do that. Now, that does not mean you cannot have different buying requirements for, say, small and light, hazmat, or oversized. That's where the magic comes in. So production cost per ASIN is to understand what it costs you to get a product out the door to set minimum buying requirements. And then based on those production cost per ASIN that you have calculated, you're then able to set pricing tiers for different classifications of products, whether hazmat, oversized, small and light, standard size. Do we have a distributor or wholesale license? Noticed on supply chain that there are distributors that don't sell to retailers, but only to wholesalers. No, I don't have a wholesale license. Well, with my wholesale business, I do, but that business has absolutely no affiliation with my Amazon company. And we don't even use it to purchase inventory for our Amazon company. So yeah. Every business is so unique, and this is why I love doing these calls. And this is why I love the Monday night calls with our private community and the inner circle calls, right? And this is really the purpose of all this, is because every single business, the one thing that I've learned, well, one of many things that I've learned in the past many years of doing this and making a living and making this my life, really. I live, eat, breathe, shit Amazon. Like, this is my day to day. I'm always thinking about it, whether I'm thinking about my own business and how I can grow it, or I'm thinking about a question that someone asked me that they need an immediate answer to, and I'm solving them, right? But one of the things, I completely lost my train of thought. I don't remember what I was talking about. Couldn't have been important. Sounded important in my head though. You know? But I don't even fucking remember. We have one. It's an LLC that's owned by a corp. No, we haven't considered starting it. If your ad costs are too high, you got to make adjustments to your ad costs. You know, play around with the budget, put in negative keywords, add new keywords. I think the biggest thing about ads is you got to understand SEO optimization, how keywords work. And then you got to do your research on what keywords you should be targeting to get the best bang for your buck, essentially. But a lot of the magic with PPC comes in with working and reworking your campaign. So popping in every couple of days and making the adjustments, right? If your A cost is too high, pinpoint why. Are there certain keywords that are driving up your A costs? There probably are. Can you remove those keywords? You probably could. Could you decrease the bid on some of those keywords? Absolutely. Could you increase the bid on the ones that are performing better? Sure can, right? So it's really about managing these campaigns, diving into them, analyzing them, making educated decisions and changes to them, and then doubling down on what works and eliminating what doesn't. Mr. Boog, what's the requirement to join EsellersRI for beginners? You just have to have a level of motivation and commitment, and the investment to join, which right now is $3,000. We also offer a payment plan. Patty's World FBA asked, what does she do with inventory that says 0 have been received? So until the shipment can be reconciled, at the top of the shipment, it will say the shipment cannot be reconciled until insert date. It might be May 30th, right? So until that date of May 30th, you cannot even open up an investigation for those missing units. So Usually by the date of reconciliation, the inventory will be received. Because what's happening right now is Amazon's moving it around to fulfillment center to fulfillment center. They're checking it in, right? So they're processing your inventory, which sometimes takes some time. So you have to wait until the reconciliation date, Patty. But if the reconciliation date has passed, then you would submit the documentation. And usually, and there'll be an option to submit that documentation on the shipment page. And usually what it will be is some sort of invoice proving that you purchased the inventory, as well as some sort of shipping document proving that you shipped the inventory. Usually the scan in from UPS will suffice. If you're sending pallets, then the bill of lading from the carrier will suffice, but they're going to want to document and make sure that you have this information. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I was talking about how unique Amazon is. And really, that was just my point. Like, I love jumping on these calls because literally every business in the inner circle is so different. So different. So yeah, they're all selling on Amazon. Majority of them are all wholesale businesses. But when I dive into these companies and so for example, in a couple weeks, Sebastian and I are going to Canada to visit two of our inner circle members. I've already been to their warehouse 2 times already, right? And their business is completely different from the business in the warehouse Sebastian was just out in Queens last week, right? Or when we were in Miami a couple months ago, or Sebastian was in Colombia 2 months ago. Like every business that we meet with is so unique and it's so cool because we're able to meet your business where it's at because we have the experience to do so, right? And the cool thing is if I don't know an answer to something, and this is something I learned, I used to kind of bullshit early on, right? I'd be like, I would share what I think I knew about the topic instead of just admitting, hey, I don't have the answer to that. Let me find someone who does and get back to you. And now I'm 100% comfortable doing that because that's part of this process. I can't have all the answers. I'm just one human. I'm just a regular dude, a regular guy on a regular Sunday talking to regular people, right? So I don't have all the answers. Do I have a lot of them? Absolutely. And do I have access to someone who has the answers? 100% I do. 100%. Did you ever use a prep center? What made you think it was better to get your own warehouse? So yeah, we've used prep centers and we still use the prep centers once in a while. The reason we got our own warehouse was for mainly quality control and growth, right? So with prep centers, you don't have much say in what happens. You have absolutely no access to the speed of your inventory being prepped. Yes, you can sign contracts where they say, hey, we'll get it out of our door in 72 hours. But not many companies are doing that because it's tough to commit to something like that. So the speed in which you can process your inventory in your own space, whether it's in your garage, a storage unit, a warehouse, is much faster than you can get it produced with a prep center. Also, our prep costs are pretty par for the course for any prep center, right? So basically, we would essentially be paying what we're paying in rent to prep service fees anyway, right? And now, yes, you have the increase in labor, right? But what that does is gives us the control over our inventory. I don't want someone at a prep center who's never handled my products and doesn't have the same mentality as me because it's not their business making a decision of what products to send and not send based on damages, expirations, dents, dings, open products, whatever the case may be. I want someone who's well trained on my team to make that educated decision. So then if something happens at Amazon, I don't have to run back to a third party to figure out what happened. All I have to do is walk downstairs and be like, guys, what happened with this product? We sent 300 of them. They all got received incorrectly. Like where'd the issue come? And what are we going to do to prevent this from ever happening again? Right? Please come to the next meeting with a solution for this. Boom, immediately solved. But is it a requirement to have a warehouse? Absolutely not. 100% not a requirement. Yeah, so typically, and you can download your inventory ledger. Your inventory ledger will actually tell you where your inventory is in what Amazon fulfillment center. So typically, if you have inventory that is unfulfillable or reserved and you cannot make a removal order, it's because it's in a fulfillment center that doesn't process removal orders, right? So popping up your inventory ledger and seeing what fulfillment center it's in and creating a case with Amazon and inserting the 4-digit warehouse code and saying, hey, Amazon, in warehouse ABE8, we have 24 units of inventory that are in FC processing or unfulfillable. Can you please ship these to a fulfillment center that allows removal orders? And also, if it's still in FC processing, is it something you just sent? Because if you just sent it, you're gonna have to wait a little bit. If I was starting all over again with a few $1,000, would you start with wholesale? If I only had a few $1,000, I probably wouldn't start with wholesale. I'll probably start with online arbitrage or retail arbitrage because there's a much lower barrier of entry for those business models, much lower, much less risk as well. You know, you buy an RA product and you list it FBM, it doesn't sell, you can return it. Yeah, so no, if it was being moved between fulfillment centers, um, it would be an FC transfer. FC processing could either be, yes, it could be processing a customer order or processing inventory into Amazon's warehouse. How many products should we sell at one time to have a good profit over $100,000? I mean, well, let's run the math. 100,000, 33,000, 33,000. You should sell 33,000 items a month at an average profit of $3 to do 100K in gross profits. Right? And regardless of how you sell those 33 items, it could be 33,000 items, it could be 10 SKUs, it could be 1,000 SKUs, it could be 5 SKUs, it could be 1 SKU. Right? Doesn't matter. When we got our first warehouse, we were probably doing, I want to say 500 to a million a year, maybe a little less. I don't recall, as many years ago. But I would say probably around there. What else we got here? Oh, yeah. Oh, that's a great question. How am I using ChatGPT with my Amazon business? I use it for when I create a lot of cases, right? So for example, I have a brand registered ASIN that needed some listing updates, and for some reason, Amazon wasn't pushing those listing updates, right? So I popped open ChatGPT and I copied the email that I sent them, and I said, hey, write a professional email to Amazon explaining to them this situation, inserted this situation, and asking them to correct it, right? And I went a little more detail with the prompts, but essentially it kicked out this perfect um, response. I made a few minor tweaks to it, and then I sent it, and that case worked, right? The other thing I use it for is bullet points for new listing creations. So I will put in the title of the product on ChatGPT, and I'll say, hey, create an Amazon listing with 5 bullet points for this specific product. And now, never will you be able to just copy and paste all of them. They're all going to need a little bit of work. But what it does is it really provides you the baseline for what it should look like. Also, distributor emails. There's literally so many things you guys could be using ChatGPT for. And I actually use it, and I have my team use it for sometimes responding to social media messages as well as some of our private community messages. Because, as a huge leader in this space, like sometimes you got to send messages that are, because if it was up to me, some people send me messages and I just want to tell them to fuck off. Right. And that's not really the way to handle those situations. So I have my team jump into ChatGPT sometimes and send like a well thought out email that's like PC, right? Instead of just like, hey, you sent me the same message 10 times and you bring no value to me, and why should I bring value to you? You're just sucking me dry of all my energy, and you should go kick rocks, right? Because sometimes that's what I want to say, but I don't. Not that I haven't, I just prefer not to. It's not really who I am. Yeah, I just had 2 people from UK join our program yesterday. Another 2 or 3 in probably the past month. So that's 5 in just the past 30 days. And essentially what we teach is universal. Works in all marketplaces. Yeah, I've got tons of people in the Canadian market killing it. I'll be in Alberta in a couple weeks visiting a seller who's doing 10 million plus. I'm visiting another seller in Alberta who's doing 1.5 million plus. Work with another couple dozen sellers in Canada that are doing substantial sales. So yeah, a decade. Actually, how long is a good question. How long did it take me to get to where I am today? It took me 35 years to get to where I am today. 35 years. And the first 25 of it, well, no, the first 16 were amazing. The next 10 to 12 were filled with the drug addiction and pain and anguish and regret and horrible life decisions and digging myself to a very deep rock bottom, where one day I looked into the mirror and I felt absolutely broken and I just didn't want to live anymore. Um, and I wouldn't take that back for the world. Those 12 years of anguish and pain that I inflicted on myself have made me into the person I am today. And I love the person I am today. I have a lot of respect for the person I am today. My family has a lot of respect for the person I am today. I know a lot of you guys have a lot of respect for the person I've become today. And all of the reason I am the person I am today is because of the trials and tribulations that I went through. Right. So it's a huge contributor to my success. And I learned so much about myself as a person, you know, uh, just basically being broken for so long. And sometimes I forget what that was like. I get a little emotional just thinking about it because my life was not like this. Like, I remember days where I would literally be laying at my parents' couch. Like, my parents, they were very supportive of me, but there came a point at the end where they just couldn't do anything. They couldn't have me around anymore. I was just sucking them dry of all their energy. And there was a point where I would literally wake up in the morning and I would go on the couch and I'd watch TV until 2, 3 in the morning, right? I'm talking from 8 a.m. to 2, 3 in the morning. I'd only get up to, go hit the restroom, maybe eat something. But like and literally I had nobody I could call. I was so in my own little bubble and so lost. And I thought my life was over. I thought I was just always going to be doing that for the rest of my life. Um, and now my life is so full, so full. I couldn't even tell you the last time I had an entire day to do nothing. It's been years since that has happened. And I'm grateful for that. And I'm grateful for the opportunity to be present. I'm grateful for God for bringing me here, because without that power, nobody. At the end of the day, I'm just a regular bozo on a bus. You know, I've just learned how to take action. That's what I try to instill in all of you. Because a lot of you are no different. I'm no different. We are one and the same, right? And it's available to you. The same experience that I've had is available to you. And you don't have to hit the rock bottom that I hit. Most people are willing to change when the pain is great enough. When the pain is great enough. Who makes the decision when the pain is great enough? You. You make the decision when the pain is great enough. You can experience more pain. I can promise you that. That rock bottom has a lower bottom. And that lower bottom has a lower bottom. It's up to us to make the decision of how much pain we're willing to withstand until we're willing to make a change in our lives. Same thing with health issues, right? Typically, people aren't willing to take their doctor's suggestion and go to the gym to exercise until they're in a life or death situation, right? It happens all the time. People go to the doctor, hey, you have risk of obesity, you're type whatever diabetic, right? You need to be doing this, or you're about to become obese, or you're potential of becoming a diabetic, right? You should be doing this, should be doing that. And you just write it off because the pain is not great enough. But now all of a sudden you go to the doctor and the doctor says, hey, you're extremely obese now, and at this rate, we don't see you living for maybe more than 2 or 3 years if you continue to deteriorate your body like this, right? And that's when you have to make a decision if the pain is great enough in that moment to make the decision to change your life. Because if the pain is not great enough in that moment, you will not change. You will not change, and something more painful will need to happen for you in order to make the decision to change. And yeah, diamonds are made for pressure. Let me just see if I have any more calls today before I go rambling. We're on a long boy here. What are we going on now? We're on an hour and 12 minutes. Everybody having fun here? I hope you're having fun. That's really all that matters to me. I just want to make sure everybody's enjoying themselves and most importantly, learning as well. All right, so let me see, just make sure my calls are done for the day so I don't miss anybody. Yeah, that's it. 21st, all done. Let me scroll to the bottom, work my way back up. I got a lot of missed comments here. Yeah, Section 3 violation and don't do drop shipping. These are common in the past couple of weeks. I've seen about 7 or 8 of them just in our community alone. Essentially, they're going to want to verify some information from you, right? So whatever they're requesting, provide it, 100%. And a Section 3 does not only mean drop shipping. It applies to other things. Within Amazon's terms of service. And we do offer a service to help sellers like that. Obviously, I don't have all the information, so I can't troubleshoot it through a YouTube or even a private message. But that's something you could absolutely jump on the phone call with my business partner, Sebastian, who's helped hundreds of accounts get reinstated. I talked a little bit about telegrams yesterday. It really depends on the communication. The only thing I don't really like about Telegram is the speed in which you need to act to get the deal. because they send those deals out and they might have 40, 50 people in that Telegram group, and now you're competing for the first person to research it and submit the order. Also, you want to make sure that the quantities that they have aren't excessive. It's the same thing you do with any other wholesaler. You basically want to vet them, right? Make sure they're legitimate. Now, me personally, I don't do any business with any Telegram distributors. But if you're just getting started, you might find some opportunity there. But also be mindful that if any, and this is just a broad statement in life in general, if something's too good to be true, it usually is, right? So a gentleman in our community just the other day, he brought well, the other day it was brought to my attention, but some months ago he bought some products from a Telegram chat, and turns out that they were discounted 75%, and it's like a discount of 70, like that's too good to be true, right? And turns out that the products were actually stolen. Right, so this gentleman purchased stolen inventory listed on Amazon, and his account was suspended because of it. And it's because he thought that a $80 profit on an item was realistic. Like, ain't nobody, that's crazy. That's crazy. It's crazy. If it's too good to be true, it usually is. Yo, Simon, what's up, bro? I have no idea, Aerosol. Like I said, I have no problem admitting if I don't know the answer. And I don't know the answer to that. Yeah, no problem. All right. Any last minute questions here? So Amazon actually allows you to have two accounts. You have multiple accounts with Amazon registered under the same owner, same information. The only thing is, they cannot sell the same products. That's why you see a lot of people creating like alternative accounts with family members and stuff like that. And the reason why is because if you open two accounts, you cannot sell the same inventory. Right? Because once you start, because then what happens is you could go on the same listings, right? Appear to be two different sellers when really you're just two sellers owned by one. So really it's just one seller, and it'll give you a higher prioritization on the buy box, right? Because now you're two sellers, but really you're just representing one business. So Amazon doesn't want that happening, because then what would prevent people from literally opening 10 wholesale Amazon businesses under the same company information and then listing the same products from those 10 stores and getting 10 chances to win the buy box and still make the money for their company. Yeah. Yeah, we have a few brand exclusives. I have my reseller license, Amazon store up, just need guidance and a mentor. Well, you came to the perfect place, my friend Santiago. That's what we offer. Guidance, mentorship, the whole shebang. So I'll break it down very straightforward. Three main resources: access to the course content. This is the know-how. This is the step-by-step guided tutorials. Number two, access to live weekly calls with me, Sebastian, group of our community. This is to provide value and answer your questions. Resource number three, access to our private Facebook community. This is to put all the pieces of the puzzle together. Any questions you have. It's literally a database of knowledge for the past 3 years. I've learned so much from my private community, and I've been doing this shit for a decade. How long did it take you to go from 1 mil to 2 mil? Probably a couple months. When we were really moving, we were just crushing. I'll send you the link right here. just put the link in the chat. So Ricardo, if Amazon sends the inventory is expired and you know it's not, you can request what is called a bin check. So just create a case with Seller Central, include the ASIN, and say, hey, I'd like a bin check on this ASIN. You're saying it's expired. The documented expiration date I have is 12/31/23. Please investigate this inventory. And they will essentially go to the warehouse and they will pull some of your inventory, check the expiration date, and communicate it with you. And if it's incorrect, the inventory will get listed back to fulfillable. And if they are in fact correct, or maybe you mislabeled it or forgot a label, then it will remain unfulfillable and you'll have to take the necessary actions to remove that inventory. What is the cheapest product we currently sell? I would say probably $6-7 listing price. You know, small and light with the beauty discount. It's like, what? Sign me up. Yeah, so Chris, essentially you could choose Amazon Prep Services. When you're sending to inventory to Amazon, you can ship them the full cases, and then they will, if it's an individual item, so 12 units in a case, 12 units and 12 labels, they will actually package that inventory for you. You would just select, when you're selecting who preps the inventory, instead of by seller, it would be by Amazon. Now, keep in mind, I think the Amazon, it's been a while since I used prep services, but I think it's 55 cents a label now. And that is no additional prep and requirements at all. It's just for the label. Yeah, absolutely, Scott. Appreciate your time as well, man. Thanks for being here. Without all you here, this doesn't exist. I would just be talking to myself, which won't be the first time I talk to myself. Probably won't be the last either. Love you too, Collie. Hmm. What is the best way to do a profit and loss statement? So first, I always suggest businesses connect to QuickBooks through A2X. This will give you a lot more transparency into your company. You can connect your bank account, you can connect your debit card, your credit card, any business card you're using. In this way, all of your expenses will be documented in QuickBooks. It's going to give you a much cleaner view of your company health. You know, it'll really help you understand your profit and loss because you'll have documented, you know, your expenses, your shipping, it'd be categorized, your boxes, everything that you need, it'd be categorized and separated so you can really analyze it. Um, Okay, going back to Telegram offers, and we bought items that were now deemed stolen. What happened if all the items were sold out? Can we get in trouble? Yeah, I would imagine you could absolutely still get in trouble if they're able to trace that back. So I would just keep your fingers crossed and stay away from those Telegram groups with deals that are too good to be true, or really any group with deals that are too good to be true. If someone's offering you a deal that just sounds like amazing, it's usually there's a reason why it's so amazing. And in this case, it's because something illegal went down, you know? And my illegal days are over. I'll tell you that one for sure. They ended like a decade ago, doing dumb shit. For someone just getting. Andrew, for someone just getting into FBA, what are some of the videos you would suggest going back and watching? So I would go straight to our 22 video beginner's guide playlist. It literally gives you the rundown. It'll take you about an hour and 10 minutes to watch. It's 22 videos. It's in order, sequential, starting from all the way to opening your Amazon account, all the way to sending your shipment, right? And it's right here on YouTube, and it's absolutely free. So pop into there. It'll teach you a lot. It really will. No, we don't sell on any other marketplaces anymore. I mean, they might be able to track you down, Mod. Yeah. Nice, Chris. That was a nugget from yesterday that Chris used, and he said it worked. I'm happy to hear it. That's exciting. I love it. That 10% rule. Yeah. Amazing, Chris. Excited to have you on the team, brother. Anything else? Sure, I missed some comments along the way. It's $3,000, Preston. We also offer a payment plan. And if you're considering joining, literally now is the time, because in a couple of months, it's going to probably go up 70% in cost. So it's going to go to about $4,800. And the reason why is we're re-recording a lot of it. We're dropping EsellersRI 2.0, which I'm currently in the process of recording. But EsellersRI 1.0 members get grandfathered in. All right, my friends, I'm breaking out of here. Have a beautiful Sunday wherever you are in this world. Make sure you're doing something that makes you happy. Stay grateful and stay lit, my friends. Adios.